appears ordinary till you see the core side of it.
And what you're looking for is the story behind the news.
We bring it to you from Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
Giving you all sides and political stories round the clock.
Every detail from the start line to the final whistle.
CoreTV News, expanding your view.
Glad to have you join us again on CoreTV News Hour. I am Frank Omalape. A federal high court in Abuja has stopped lawmakers elected on the platform of the People's Democratic Party from reconvening the House of Representatives. Justice Ahmed Mohammed issued the order in a ruling on an ex parte motion filed by the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Aminu Tambuwal, and the All Progressive Congress. Justice Mohammed ordered all the parties in the suit to maintain status quo at least until Friday, when the suit will be heard. He also directed that the defendants be served as well as to appear in court on Friday to show cause why the prayers sought by the APC lawmakers should not be granted. The opposition lawmakers were led to court by Minority Leader Femi Gbajabiamila.
By the courts that any attempt to reconvene the House outside of the rules provided by the House, outside of Section 60 of the Constitution, which allows, which gives the House unfettered powers to regulate its own proceedings. Any such move will be illegal and unconstitutional and null and void. We know it, they know it, but to make assurances that we're sure, let the courts make a pronouncement on that. To the ruling PDP. I'm not sure whether the Inspector General of Police was still undergoing residual legal studies at that time, that he was not aware that there had been such decampment, and he did not do anything about it. If you look at our Constitution very closely in Section 42, it says that nobody shall be discriminated against on the basis of his political opinion for another person. If you do not withdraw the security aids of the Speaker of the Ondo State Assembly, then there's no reason that you should remove the aids of the Speaker of the National Assembly. That is discrimination against the provisions of Section 42.
The most important thing that I want to talk about is the impeachment issue that is being bandied around. We need to be very careful. The Speaker has nothing to lose, absolutely nothing. If you go and get 50 members somewhere to illegally impeach the Speaker, then 50 members elsewhere can equally impeach someone who is higher than the Speaker. So we should watch it, because the hunter can become the haunted in this matter. The reality of the issue is that the APC members are ready. We've been calm. We want to exhaust the legal means. Politically, we have every capacity to deal with this issue. And in the next few days,
Nigeria's largest opposition party, the All Progressive Congress, is comfortable with the court order directing all parties to maintain status quo on the suit filed by its lawmakers against moves to declare Speaker Aminu Tambuwal's seat vacant. The party leaders have also decided to suspend measures they were put in place to respond to actions taken by the People's Democratic Party. Party spokesman Lai Mohammed disclosed this to newsmen on Monday night after a lengthy meeting with members of the APC caucus of the House of Representatives.
What the outcome of this meeting, what this meeting was about, and the outcome?
Well, we met to deliberate on the issue of the Speaker, Right Honorable Aminu Tambuwal, especially the rough tackle that the PDP federal government is leveling. But the ground has been softened before the meeting by the ruling of Justice A.R. Mohammed,
who asked that the status quo be maintained and that the House cannot reconvene until November 7th, when the parties are before him. All we did after was to take briefings from all the members and the party in respect of our coming convention and primaries. That is sum total of our discussions.
So what is your reaction to the court's case?
Well, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Aminu Tambuwal, says he's not surprised by the court's decision to stop alleged moves by the PDP lawmakers to reconvene the House this week. The Speaker spoke on the sideline of a strategy meeting by the APC caucus in the House with the party's leadership in Abuja. He described the judiciary in glowing terms.
I expected not anything less from the Nigerian judiciary that have, over time, proven to be a very well judicious. Well, I think I don't want to comment on that for now. Let me avoid that. But I have this to say, that this is not about me. It's about the institution of the National Assembly. It's about our hard-earned democracy. And I commend lovers of democracy in this country and beyond for their support for the sustenance of our democracy.
The People's Democratic Movement is prepared to offer its platform to former Vice President Atiku Abubakar to run for the presidency if he fails to secure the presidential ticket of the All Progressive Congress. PDM National Chairman Bashir Yusuf, however, noted that it is left for the former Vice President to approach the party, not the other way around. He, however, denies Atiku's involvement in the PDP or PDM affairs.
Atiku is a candidate for PDM. I think that's a question for Atiku, honestly. It's not a question for PDM because, yeah, but you see, the law does not allow a political party to stop anyone from running for an office on the platform of the political party. So we are obliged by law, if he wants to run on the platform of our party, to give him the opportunity. It's not by choice, it's by law. So if he wants to come into our party, we can't stop him. The party must be open to all Nigerians. And if he wants to run for election, we can't stop him. We must give him the opportunity to run. If he wins, we have to field him. So it's a matter of law, it's not a matter of choice.
The national leadership of the ruling People's Democratic Party has opened its doors for other presidential aspirants in the party. It has now resolved to sell nomination forms to those who may want to contest the presidential primary with President Goodluck Jonathan. The PDP, however, insists that the deadline for the collection of forms remains Thursday, November 6. One of the presidential aspirants in the party, Abdul Jalil Tafa Balewa, has been battling the PDP's hierarchy for the presidential nomination form and voiced displeasure over the idea of consensus candidates being promoted by the party until now. Imo State Governor Rochas Okorocha has said that he is the only presidential aspirant in the All Progressive Congress that has the capacity to dislodge President Goodluck Jonathan in 2015. Also argued that if the APC fails to field him, it will lose the presidential election woefully to the People's Democratic Party. Okorocha, who was speaking at a rally organized by a northern group, Arewa People's Grand Coalition in Kaduna, said his achievements in office show what he could do if he becomes president. Earlier, he had visited the Emir of Zazzau, Sheikh Idris, and laid the foundation for Rocho's free secondary school education in the Emirate. Now, ahead of the declaration of his second-term bid, civil servants in Kwara State have endorsed the state governor, Abdul Fattah Ahmed, for a second term in office. The civil servant, who had an interactive section with the governor comprised of senior civil servants who were led by the Trade Union Congress and the Nigerian Labour Congress leadership in the state. Kola Olumo, TUC chairman in the state, says the governor is good enough for a second term because of his outstanding performance and the fact that he is the only aspirant who has represented or presented himself to civil servant. He also urged him to do more for civil servant if he is re-elected to office. In his remarks, Chairman of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Umar Farouk Akombi, urged the governor to resolve some issues of concern to workers, especially those who brought Zenith Bank shares some years back but have not had their shares certificate. He, however, commended the state government on its workers-friendly programs and policies such as the absorption of 50 disengaged staff of the Fadama program in the state. Responding, the Governor Abdul Fattah Ahmed directed the head of service, Alhaji Muhammad Dabarako, to compile the list of the affected civil servants in order to resolve the issue promptly, while also thanking the civil servant for his support. You're watching CoreTV News Hour. We'll take a break shortly. We'll be back with more stories. Join us again.
Welcome you to From the Ivory Tower. On happenings around the country, varsity teachers get to air their views. Students are actually not left out. We bring you intellectual ends from the events happening around you. It is dedicated to educating the populace with a spice of entertainment.
From the Ivory Tower, Tuesdays, only on CoreTV News.
For update on our news and other program, visit our Facebook page. It's facebook.com/CoreTV News. And our Twitter handle at CoreTV News NG. And our YouTube page is youtube.com/CoreTV, leave a space, then news. Borno State Deputy Governor Zana Mustafa has warned that if the federal government does not take urgent steps to check the spread of insurgency in northeastern Nigeria, the three states affected will cease to exist in no distant time. Mustafa issued a warning when he paid a courtesy call on the governor of Adamawa State, Balangilari. He revealed that the insurgents have taken over about 13 local government areas in Borno State, insisting that they are more equipped than the Nigerian military.
Work as Kilowa goes on. Part of how local government is in their hand, part of the local government is in their hand. In Borno Central, we have lost Kwandiga, half of Kwandiga, complete Bama, Mafa, Dukwa, Kalabalgi, Ngala. That's about 6 out of the 8 local government in the central central district of Borno State. In the north, we have Abadan local government in their hand. We have Marte in their hand. We have part of Kaga local government Benishek, the only way leading to Maiduguri now. Then we have Manguno and Kukau, both in the hands of the terrorists. Your Excellency will agree with me that we are in serious trouble.
For his part, Ngilari calls for prayers from all citizens and added that security is everybody's business.
Appeal to those who are in this thing to turn a new leaf. It's not enough to say, oh, who cares, it's the government, it's the business of government. This thing transcends politics. In the business of security, there is no partisanship. You either sell or sink together. I mean, it's a tragedy to say so many local governments are under siege. And we are facing exactly, we're just 2 steps behind your experience. We're going through it and it's not been easy. So, but we remain faithful, we remain trustful that God Almighty, who made and created us in His own image, will intervene.
Meanwhile, the recent attacks on Mobi and surrounding villages by insurgents have increased the number of displaced persons in Yola, and some religious organizations have joined in efforts to alleviate the suffering of the displaced persons. Speaking at a distribution center in Yola, the Catholic Bishop of Yola Diocese, Stephen Mamsa, says more efforts are needed to take care of the displaced persons, most of whom he says are not residents in camps.
There are still so many that have not been assisted up to now. And I just want to call on government to please see how they can identify those that are really badly in need. And most of those that are in need actually are with family members and friends. Those that are at the camp, the government is doing everything possible in order to take care of them. But those that are living with their family members, that is more than 98% of the displaced people, they live with their family members and friends. So these are the people that we really need to reach out to. And based on what we are distributing today, we are distributing to all those who are living with family members and friends.
Recipients thanked the church for the gesture and called on the federal government to intensify efforts at fighting insurgents.
People they run har baza munchka local government so people they suffer.
State government should go and lay our complaint to federal government so that they will go and push that insurgent out of our town so that we will go. You see, it's not only giving us food that matters, but we want to go back to our various destinations.
Concerned about the security situation in northeast Nigeria, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar is soliciting international support for the war against insurgency. He's also worried about the humanitarian situation aftermath the fall of Mobi, one of the largest towns in the region, to the insurgents. The former Vice President said at a news conference in Abuja that the world cannot afford to ignore the country at a time. Hundreds of thousands of people in northeast Nigeria are at risk.
This is one of the scenes in one of the internally displaced person camps in Yola after the fall of Mubi to Boko Haram insurgents. It is also the reason why former Vice President Atiku Abubakar believes the time is ripe for the international community to come to Nigeria's aid. This, according to him, is because the country's leadership has failed the people of the affected region.
I call upon the international community to help us. I am making a special appeal to countries with sufficient know-how and experience in tackling terrorism to increase their assistance to us. The relief agencies that are already working here should please double their efforts. And all people of goodwill should help in any way they can and do more than they have been doing to alleviate the pain and suffering that we Nigerians face through this insurgency. This Boko Haram insurgency has been with us now for several years, but has in the last few days taken a step further towards being a disaster of unimaginable proportions. Hundreds of thousands of people are at risk. Nigeria needs world support. The world must not abandon Nigerians in our time of need.
He recounted how insurgents have in recent weeks taken over 16 local governments spread across 3 affected northeast states, which has led to thousands of displaced persons. The former vice president, who was accompanied by senators from the region, say the humanitarian situation is worrisome.
In Yobe, only 2 local governments are being occupied by Boko Haram, Gujiba and Gulani, and then in Adamawa, you now have 5, Madagali, Michika, Mubi, Mubi North, Mubi South, and Maiha. And in Borno, about 9 local governments, Bamangala, Dikwa, Kalabare, Mafa, Marche, Goza, Dambua, Gulani, Gujiba. So that is the exact, areas that are being occupied. Ever since, this terrorist, group have been taking one territory or the other, there was never a time the Nigerian military has recovered 1 inch of any lost territory in these 5 years.
And inevitably, there were questions on what he would have done if he was the president at a time like this.
My response time would have been very, very, very minimal. And secondly, I would have used a large part of the fighting force to come from those areas where the insurgency is, because they know the terrain better than any other Nigerian you can take.
For now, the former vice president is of the view that the situation has gone out of hands, and the earlier the international community comes to Nigeria's aid, the better for the rest of the world.
As the battle against Boko Haram rages on in the country, former Nigeria's President Olusegun Obasanjo has commended efforts by the federal government to register all citizens in the country. The former president who gave the commendation at his Abeokuta home in Ogun State when he received officials of the National Identity Management Commission, however, said the scheme was long overdue.
We have been having, and I hope that this is permanent.
Yes, sir.
I hope so. Is that we've been going from one to the other. But two things have changed. When in 1979 I first approached the idea of identity card, there were protests. Those who felt that this would be used by the police, it will be used by the intelligence, and my brothers here, their predecessors, the media, went to town. Today, I think there's no whimper of any objection or any protest, which is, of course, what progress we have made. That this project will enhance security within this country. Yes. It will also make easy the intelligence gathering or not gathering in the country. But let me once again thank you.
Thank you, sir,
for taking the trouble to.
The police authorities are told to deploy British-trained police personnel to protect judicial officials and judges. To this end, the Inspector General of Police, Sulaiman Abba, has commissioned the first batch of the Close Protection Unit for judicial officers and judges trained by operatives of the Royal Military Police of the British Army. Speaking at the event, the IG said the unit is meant to reassure judges, especially the ones handling terrorism-related cases, of adequate police protection to enable them discharge their duties without fear. He also used the occasion to thank the British government and sought greater collaboration in areas of training and intelligence sharing. The occasion was attended by the British High Commissioner to Nigeria, Andrew Pocock, and the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court, Abuja, Justice Ibrahim Auta. Now, Nigeria's security authorities are threatening to come down hard on any attempt to derail the electoral process. They also warn journalists against being used to truncate the process leading to the 2015 general elections. The National Security Advisor, Sambu Dasuki, issued a warning at the opening of a two-day workshop for journalists on security consciousness and awareness in Abuja. The NSA was represented by a director in his office, Ambassador Laiwola Lasende.
It's disheartening to know that sections of the media and some unpatriotic politicians are busy deriding the present administration for their selfish interest. It encourages divisiveness and fuels insurgency and insecurity across the nation. Any further attempt to derail our common resolve to forge a united, peaceful, and prosperous Nigeria will be rebuffed by the relevant security agencies. And I assure you there will never be sacred cows.
Say that security is not the preserve of security agencies or those who have to manage our security. It is all our collective responsibility. My only problem is that when we talk to you, the media, the ones that manage the perception of Nigerians, that once we leave, it's like the rest lives with us. We don't continue to sensitize the Nigerian public. If not, what happened recently in Gombe, we would have been able to manage it in terms of casualties. There would have been less. So I want to seize this opportunity to say, let us find a tiny corner either in our dailies or in our news summary or news analysis on how best we can sensitize Nigerians to be more conscious of their environment.
Well, and that's the wrap on CoreTV News Hour. Many thanks for watching. I am Frank Omalape. Bye for now.